to Queer Up the News. It's 8 p.m. Monday, June 20th, 2022, and we are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we're going to be telling this evening on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first live daily LGBTQ evening news show, literally out of the closet and into the headlines on Queer News Tonight with Al Ferguson.
Hello, and thank you for joining Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only unedited live LGBTQ plus evening news show. Whatever happens, you will see it. Queer News Tonight is supported by viewers like you. We are part of the partnership between Happening Out Television Network and Hotspots Magazine. Hotspots is celebrating 36 years of the LGBTQ plus experience. We bring you the best of LGBTQ plus news, entertainment, and support of our community.
I'm your anchor at Queer News Tonight, Al Ferguson. Let's begin by welcoming anchor FayWhat. She's a radio and television personality and has a popular blog and YouTube channel aiming to unite the L and the G together. She's a hostess and MC for many South Florida events, an animal activist, and also owner of Faye's Fur Family. Also, make sure to catch the FayWhat Show, the first LGBTQ plus morning show, Mondays at 9 a.m. Eastern, online, and of course, your smart television. Good evening, Faye.
Good evening, everyone. So happy to be here with you guys. I'm still a little bit tired from Stonewall Pride. We'll get to that in a little bit. Yeah, I still am tired. Ooh, 50,000 gay boys and me. It was a lot of fun. All right, next up, let's welcome anchor John Hayden. John's been a journalist for 27 years and now works for several South Florida outlets, including SFGN, as community editor covering politics, arts, and philanthropic organizations. Much of his career was spent as a celebrity journalist covering the stupidity and scandals of Hollywood. John's interviewed nearly every big name in TV, movies, and music, and once spent an evening watching a movie with Her Majesty, Queen Elizabeth II. Did she let you wear her crown? God save the Queen. Welcome, John.
She didn't wear the crown, but she wore a tiara, and when I did go for it, I was stopped by the beefeater guys in the thing.
You know, I want whatever he's drinking. I want some of that.
You don't want what I'm drinking, trust me. And before we move on, I just want to, in case you missed it over the weekend, there was a huge announcement. Sue Bird, who is a legendary WNBA player, announced that she's going to retire at the end of this season and that she is going to have like a little bit of a farewell tour. She has won 5 Olympic gold medals for the U.S., has won WNBA championships, and has been a great voice and role model for our community. She's either married to or engaged to Megan Rapinoe, the outspoken soccer star. They're a lesbian power couple, and I love them. But if you get a chance to see her play on TV, see it, because she is history and she is amazing.
John, I'm required. Viewers require me to ask this question of you, of your reporting, of this breaking news reporting that you're doing. This has to do with sports ball. So how do you know anything about this?
And women.
And women.
2 things
Strike
that John
one,
doesn't know anything about.
Strike 2. Never mind. That's completely the answer we were looking for.
So after Sue, let's welcome anchor Chris Vila. Chris has a genuine desire to connect with people and share stories. He is a gay South Florida native and loves the LGBTQ community. His background is in education, and it's his first time. So you know, Al, Faye, what's your name? Greg and I are going to be so nice and kind and welcoming to Chris. Hi.
Thank you, John. Let's welcome anchor Gregg Shapiro, an inductee into the Chicago LGBT Hall of Fame. Greg is the author of 8 books, including his latest, Fear of Muses, an entertainment journalist whose celebrity interviews and music reviews run in a variety of regional LGBTQ+ and mainstream publications and websites. His movie review column called Screensaver can be found in South Florida Gay News, San Francisco Bay Area Reporter, RottenTomatoes.com, and more. Good evening, Greg.
Good evening, and happy National Vanilla Milkshake Day.
Oh, how appropriate for today's show.
We are the reporters for Queer News Tonight, and this evening we begin with the queer headlines. The LGBTQ plus community in South Florida and across America is diverse. Our community across the world is vast. And here are the bullet points of the Queer News for today, Monday, June 20th.
Well, we're going to begin by queering up politics. Now really don't say gay, as log cabin Republicans are banned again from the GOP convention. The log cabin Republicans are the often hated LGBTQ plus group of Republicans. Their website is currently headlined by the line, "Log cabin Republicans is taking a stand against the ludicrous cancel culture, social shaming, and slander because we have truth on our side." That's their quote. They frequently speak out about how accepting the GOP actually is of the LGBTQ plus community, and they feel that the perception to the contrary is fueled by liberal media, presumably including Queer News Tonight. This concept seems to be far from reality, however, as the group has been banned from having a table again at the Texas GOP convention. This isn't the first time. The group has been banned every time they have requested to be part of the biannual convention for more than 20 years now. And this week, they were banned again.
Take the hint. Take the hint. These people are not your friends. They're not our friends.
No, they're not.
But the thing is, they don't have any friends. There's a reason we don't want them in our parades. And there's a reason that the Texas GOP ignorant people don't want them at their convention. They are not your friends. Get right by going left.
They're like the Caitlyn Jenner of organizations, right? Like, we don't want them, they don't want them. Like, no, but it's the truth. Come on. They're constantly spewing hate. On their websites, they're constantly saying, okay, we're not trying to silence you gays. You're not going to die. Guess what? With all the hate that you're spewing, a lot of us will die. And the Trevor Project proves it every single year. So I'm glad that they're not included or invited again.
What will these poor, sad, sick, self-hating homosexuals do now? Where will they go?
Oklahoma?
That's a good place for them.
Yeah, maybe Florida.
No.
No.
Hard pass.
Yeah. It's interesting to me because we're going to have a lot of discussion tonight about what's going on deep in the heart of Texas. Deep in the heart of Texas. It's interesting to me that this is the epitome of how you gaslight at the top and then you implement throughout the entire system. And it's something that we should be paying attention to, because Donald Trump, when we did the political debate here, Donald Trump is the most embracing, gay, affirming president in history, and then does all of the things that he does. Right. The Republican Party's support of a very gay, embracing President Donald Trump, but it's implemented through individual state systems like Texas and other places. That is classic definitions. You open Wikipedia or your Google machine, and in terms of gaslighting, you open it up and you see the GOP and the log cabin Republicans are listed in the bibliograph on page 742. That's gaslighting.
Yeah.
That's it. Next, we queer up the road to Stonewall. A record 50,000 attend Stonewall Pride, celebrating Juneteenth, equality, and Say Gay. This Saturday, we celebrated living in the gayest place on planet Earth with the Wilton Manor Stonewall Pride Parade and Street Festival. It was the first parade in Wilton Manor since the pandemic began, and it was one for the record books. Crowds counts are still in process, but it's estimated that more than 50,000 people attended the party. With 7 stages and a parade that lasted a full 2 hours, there was more entertainment than ever before. The event also featured a Juneteenth flash mob that was incredible and amazing local entertainers on the Black Excellence stage. We look forward to next year, which is sure to be even bigger and better.
And you didn't even mention the best part.
What was the best part?
You and Al up on stage.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
What troopers. It was a great performance. And also, the show was amazing. The whole parade was amazing.
It was amazing.
The numbers were just remarkable.
It was spectacular. Faye and I are on the main stage of Stonewall Pride. And we're doing this live broadcast in Roku and Apple Television, which makes it incredibly special. And literally, sometimes I feel like I'm just this old, jaded gay guy because I've seen everything. Look at that picture. I kept remarking over and over and over again. At one point in the parade disappeared with the crowds on both sides of the street. 20 people deep on both sides of the parade. I've just never seen anything like it. Frankly, in Florida, I've been to all of the major parades in Florida. I've never seen anything like it. It was a symptom of people wanting to come back to celebrate post-pandemic. And we've been talking about it, and we've kind of trying to be standing up, and our legs wobble a little, and then we fall down. And we've been through almost a year of that wobble and fall down. Saturday, we stood up, and the let's say gay and say gay
everyone and
were just incredible
everywhere, and the signs and the inclusivity, like people were like making up for lost time in a big way, and there was just smiles everywhere you looked out, you know, like and that parade, it was 2 hours long, but it didn't feel that way because it just went by, and it was organization after organization locally that we loved, but also like nationally we had such big supporters there, like Spirit. And, you know, and it was just
big
corporate, Amazon, and to have all those people in our parade, it was just like heartwarming.
And the politicians that you had speaking in support of us on our stage. It was amazing.
And police, and sheriff's office, my goodness, the Broward County Sheriff just looked amazing and so supportive. And what a fantastic way to kick off this festival and this Pride Parade, by having senatorial candidate Congresswoman Val Demings speak. I was thrilled to be able to do the first LGBT embraced interview in South Florida. And she was standing on that stage and just hit it out of the park. Talked about why LGBT should not be afraid at events like Stonewall Pride. Talked about what's at stake in our rights and how we shouldn't retrench from asking for what the dignity that our community expects. And for me, a highlight moment, because literally it was like being in black church, because she started preaching from that standpoint and was so excited that literally I was fearful for a while that she was going to fall off the stage.
She was jumping off, like she was basically like jumping up in such like passion that I'm like, oh my God, she's going to fall off the stage and they're going to blame you, Al. So you got to be careful about that. You know, but the mayors were represented, the local officials were represented, the drag queens were represented, like just everybody was just out in full force, and it was just such a wonderful, wonderful time.
Can I talk about what didn't happen? Is that there were no major to speak of security problems. A few people acted the fool, sure, but on the whole, it was safe. And that was all the reporting coming up to this because of what happened in West Palm Beach, the threat out in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. So the cost of it is something that's still going to have to be addressed going forward. And we're going to have to plan for this. And I still am not sure if Wicked Manners is going to happen this fall, because I mean, it's just so expensive to put these things on. But I'm writing a rap for SFG, and I just got an email from Wilton Manors Police Department Chief Gary Blocker, and I asked if there were any last-minute threats that came up, and he says, this is a quote: "Our crime analysts worked diligently before, during the event, and during the event in search of anything of concern, and we are glad to report that no threats to our event surfaced." So, but it was a lot of work that you didn't see. Yeah, you saw the police people in their uniforms and things like that. There's so much that goes into it, and it's expensive. So I'm glad it was a safe weekend, and I just hope that we're able to plan it out going forward for major events like this.
And the number one closure thought about this Stonewall Pride, Wilton Manors, Fort Lauderdale can be very proud, because literally from my seat, it's the best parade that I have seen in years in Florida. Best parade in years.
Watch it on Roku, people.
Yeah,
because it really is. Like, you're just blown away.
You're just blown away from it. And the most important, more than the parade, more than Stonewall Pride, it is a reflection of how LGBTQ is back. We are back. We deal and manage with COVID-19. We're going to deal with the guns and the security issues. We're going to deal with the issues of the evangelical and the hardcore conservative rights. But LGBTQ proved Saturday we are back. That's very exciting.
It is. Now we move on and we queer up business. Most anti-LGBTQ plus money, not from Chick-fil-A, but from Toyota? Pride Month is more than half over, but celebrations across the country are still in full swing. Recently, the group Data for Progress compared major companies that donate to Pride celebrations with their political donations. The activist group's Pride Corporate Accountability Project outlined a list of companies and their contributions to politicians that oppose or have opposed important legislation like the Equality Act, which would prevent discrimination against a person based on gender identity or sexual orientation nationwide. The data gets even more specific, delineating companies that also sponsor Pride events. And of that group, Toyota and its franchisees contributed nearly twice as much as any other, with more than $600,000 in donations from 2019 to March of this year. Chick-fil-A has stopped donating as a business, but their owner, Dan Cathy, is still known as a major financial backer of conservative political causes. And
Disturbing,
but it also doesn't say how much Toyota has spent for Pride. I don't like these stories because it says that Toyota hasn't made a donation to any Democrat in Florida or any Democrat anywhere. So it's really kind of only half a story. But the fact is that political donations are relatively not visible. But donations to Pride, when Toyota comes out and they donate a fleet of trucks, of flatbeds for people to put their floats on and stuff, that counts too. So I would like to know more.
While I understand your observation, I don't completely agree with your observation. And a perfect example is in this cycle of 2022 in Florida. That somebody at Disney would say exactly what you just said prior to the Don't Say Gay movement, and Disney said, "Wait, we have an obligation. We made a mistake first. Clearly, we hope." For example, Toyota would go, wait, we didn't really understand this because we didn't really investigate it to that level.
We weren't aware.
We weren't aware of contribution. So let's hear Toyota. You should come out and say something about this. Because in Disney's example, that's exactly what happened. Disney said, wait, we're going to stop contributions to all candidates in Florida because of this. We're going to get our bearings. And then the second step that they took was to say, wait, we are committed to either repealing Don't Say Gay or having the courts defeat Don't Say Gay. But either way, we're going to help now because we don't think this is just. Toyota's at the exact same moment of them evaluating and saying, okay, it's just a fact of life. We contribute to everybody. But your percentage is dramatically higher than everyone else. That doesn't make it right. But they have an obligation to say, okay, now, with my donation to you, Ted Cruz, I do not know that they donated to Ted Cruz, but if they did, or to Governor Abbott, or to Governor DeSantis, if we donated to you, we have an obligation to say to you, your positioning on LGBT is flatly wrong. And so therefore, we're using our money and our access to tell you we don't like what you're doing. And then Abbott or DeSantis could say, well, keep your damn money. Okay. Good. And that's the right way to balance this story, in my opinion.
Hopefully they will do that. I mean, I have 4 Toyotas in my driveway,
Right. When I drive a Prius and I feel as betrayed as a log cabin Republican.
Good for you. And one other thing that I think is important also, because I do appreciate John's delineation here of we're only telling a part of the story. The other part of the story that we're also not telling is you can't lump everyone into this bucket and say everybody's equally guilty. Because in the Chick-fil-A example, the Chick-fil-A that's as close to Wilton Manors and Wilton Drive, for example, is the busiest in all of South Florida. And it is a franchisee. It is not a corporate restaurant that is very supportive of LGBTQ community. They can't help what the owner of Chick-fil-A is doing. They don't support it. And they loudly say that. Hendrickson Toyota, which was a sponsor of Stonewall Pride, is out there clearly saying the LGBTQ community is important. We want your business, of course, but far greater than we want your business is our voice saying you matter. So you can't broad brush everything connected with Toyota. That is not fair. It is a franchisee of the corporate structure that they're talking about. That's also part of the story.
Okay, next, let's queer up gay culture. Texas GOP declares war on LGBTQ+ in shocking platform statement. Texas Republicans have voted on a 40-page document that solidifies their political platform for the next 2 years. The document promotes white nationalism under the guise of Western civilization and pushes the stolen election conspiracy theory. It is also rigidly homophobic. In one section titled Fund and Support Western Civilization Instruction, Defund Political Correctness, the document states that, quote, we oppose using public funds for homosexuality, transgender, or diversity, equity, inclusion centers, end quote. It also calls for the party to oppose any criminal repercussions for those who discriminate against homosexuals, calls for opposition of same-sex marriage regardless of state of origin.
Did we just get teleported back to
Yeah.
1958 or something?
No.
Like, what the hell just happened?
You know, it's funny you say that because it reminds me of the Johns Committee in the McCarthyian type of Johns Committee where they're using, again, gays as a scapegoat. But this is more of the same. We saw this with the Muslim ban. It's just pick a scapegoat to galvanize your base in order to promote your hate and to gain power and votes.
Gaslighting.
And
Gaslighting once again. So it's just not surprising at all. And what really is worrisome about this, if you read some of what they're saying, they're basically saying that they oppose any sort of penalties against somebody who might, whether criminal or civil, if
Discriminate.
through faith or their own convictions, do something against the gay person or their property or their physical person.
You know,
I mean, how
interesting
disturbing is that?
because couldn't you make that exact same argument in 1948 to justify lynching? You could make the exact same argument. It would apply exactly the same way.
And they describe homosexuality as an abnormal lifestyle choice. No, honey, being a Republican is an abnormal lifestyle choice.
You know,
You were funny, Greg. Yay!
the usually, you know, parties pass a platform all the time, and it's, you know, you packed with special interest stuff and things like that, and nobody really pays attention to it after the convention or the election. I think this is different. This is a blueprint. This is a blueprint. And right now, Texas and Florida are trying to out-blueprint each other with this. Their goal, scare our allies to be silent, then silence us, take away our medical care, and eventually arrest us. They want to, it may not be in the platform, but they want to arrest parents for taking their kids to a drag show. That's supported there, and it's probably going to be on a bill this coming fall, or this coming
Maya
winter.
Angelou says, when they say it, believe them.
Yes.
Believe
It's like their little manifesto, basically setting up that they want to erase us.
Yes.
You know,
All right
interesting to me in this call out in this platform that the GOP has adopted, that they do not support gay marriage. Well, first off, gay marriage is the law of the land. So you're saying we don't support the law of the United States. That's what you're saying. I constantly and always, to ad nauseum, some people say, apply the standard of pull gay out and let's apply other minority issues. And okay, well, let's pull out exactly what they said. And no, we do not support the law of the land of gay marriage. Now, instead of it being gay, let's put in mixed race religion.
Yeah.
Or
Women.
mixed race choices in marriage, and black and white cannot marry.
Right, Loving versus the state of Virginia.
Exactly. So how could you not make that exact same observation and we not all be up in arms? And by the way, we have a Supreme Court justice that is probably getting ready to vote against many LGBT issues, perhaps even marriage. And if the exact same standard was applied to him in mixed race, his marriage rights would be withdrawn. And then the other thing that is really the most offensive to me has nothing to do with LGBT. The most offensive of the GOP in Texas is to say that Trump has won. And I can't help but wonder, are you watching the January 6th hearings? Are you watching not the vice president, but the Attorney General of the United States, the entire inner circle around the President of the United States, his daughter, his son-in-law, all said, this is a lie. When do you become so ignorant in Texas that ignorance is okay?
If it doesn't fit the narrative, it doesn't exist.
That is ignorance. Classic definition.
And now we queer up gay culture. Saudi government issues crackdown on rainbow capitalism. Saudi Arabia has joined many in the LGBTQ plus community in fighting against rainbow capitalism, but for different reasons. The government has begun confiscating toys, clothing, and other children's items that are colored with rainbows. The Commerce Ministry officials said on the state-run news channel, quote, "We are giving a tour of the items that contradict the Islamic faith and public morals and promote homosexual colors targeting the younger generation," end quote. Homosexuality and cross-dressing are illegal in the Muslim-majority nation and can be punished with public whipping, life imprisonment, deportation, and death. It is also one of 14 countries to have banned the new Disney Pixar film Lightyear due to the inclusion of a lesbian couple.
Saudi Arabia doesn't sound like any place that's fun. No, I'm serious. I mean, come on. This is just like a little ridiculous. I mean, it's, we don't own the rainbows. We don't own everything that has a rainbow on it just because we're the LGBTQ plus community. So,
as Walmart proved this month.
right? So, do they ban Lady Gaga? Do they ban anything that has everything? Yeah. Like I said, it's not sound like a fun place.
Yeah, Western culture is essentially banned there, except in very small touristy areas so people can come and go, oh yeah, no, I saw a Lady Gaga thing. No, for the most part, they ban all of our culture. Yeah.
And keep in mind, this is coming from the same country that sanctions the killing of journalists. I mean, so yeah, no, it's not a fun place. No, not at all.
Most concerning to me is how do we, I look at Saudi Arabia in terms of the argument that is really the big argument coming. We are probably days to weeks away from a major decision coming from the Supreme Court, very similar to this, which is balancing religious freedom versus civil rights. LGBT is going to be at the core crux of it, but we're just shortly away from the Supreme Court. I am very fearful that we are going to watch the Supreme Court rule very close, not to the same extreme of Saudi Arabia, but in the same way as Saudi Arabia, which is our Islamic faith means that this is how you will act and perform, and you have no choice. And the Supreme Court of the United States is getting ready in a less significant way to say that religious freedom trumps, literally, trumps the civil rights of an entire oppressed minority class. And the oppressed class in this instance is going to be LGBT, but it could be other religions, it could be Jewish, it could be women, it could be Latinos. There are many classes that once the white voiced majority, white privileged majority make a decision on, that could have dramatic effects on the rights of Americans from year to come. And that is what we're watching. That's why this is so serious, of why we should be paying attention, and this news is incredibly important. Saudi Arabia says, look, we don't even want to see a cartoon character of two lesbian women, much less you selling something from Target or Walmart or whoever. Disney Pixar says, we don't care what you think, so don't show the movie. We don't care. But there are many, many, many people that will follow along with this thinking process. And this kind of thinking in Saudi Arabia is exactly what the GOP in Texas just said. What's the difference in the GOP in Texas and Saudi Arabia?
You make a great point that you see this sort of conservative, ultra-right, alt-right happening in many countries. We saw it in Poland, we saw it in France. France almost lost the election to a very alt-right, super politically right, almost fascist candidate, but thankfully that didn't happen. But you see this sweeping through many areas. It's not just the United States, or in this case, Saudi Arabia. And then to the point of that about Saudi Arabia, we have to nuance this in saying that, of course, there are certainly people in Saudi Arabia who are not for this and can't say so. And certainly I have many Muslim friends in the community who are, not in line with these sort of, restrictive, oppressive kinds of hard line. So as we see this kind of alt-right and super ultra-conservative happening in this story with the government of Saudi Arabia, we see it happening in many places, and we see it in our own country. So it speaks to that larger issue of this move to the right, as we saw in the 30s. in many countries.
A very interesting point, and I feel an obligation to take this one step farther. I have a circle of friends, traditionally privileged, white. I've talked about it at the show. I'll be okay. I'm okay. Don't worry about me, because I'm going to be okay. I kind of in a tongue-in-cheek say, with all the stuff that we're watching, I'm not one of the people that are directly affected in LGBT. However, in my circle of people that are just like that, I'm hearing more and more in LGBT saying we've gone too far. The reason why this is happening is these ultra evangelicals or these ultra conservative Republicans are responding, like DeSantis is, because they're so afraid of us. We've gone too far. And if we back away from this, especially trans rights and children and the grooming issue, et cetera, and so on, and less strippers are dancing in pride parades, this will all stop. And I'm hearing it in my circle more and more and more.
It's naive.
And I just want to say, I really think that completely misses the mark, because these people are foaming at the mouth because they foam at the mouth because they're mad. And you can't negotiate the madness. You must fight the madness.
Yes.
And that's what I think we're also facing in America, and certainly here in Florida.
With that, next, we report on our partnership with Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church here in Fort Lauderdale. We're broadcasting from our permanent set here at Sunshine in supporting that partnership. Happening Out Television Network broadcasts the largest LGBTQ plus religious live broadcast in the world, as more than 30,000 watch every Sunday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. Watch this.
My name is Gordon Woodworth III. I'm a non-binary pagan person from South Florida, an employee of Broward House, and Sunshine Cathedral is my queer church.
Well, next, we're going to finish tonight's Queer News headlines with a segment we call LGBTQ plus Flash News.
LGBTQ plus Flash News. It's not Obama's White House in 2015, but amazing pictures of Biden's Pride reception. Queer News Tonight has previously reported on President Biden's Pride Month executive order meant to help push for LGBTQ plus equality. Tonight, we share photos taken at the reception held after that press event. The photos were taken by Jeremy Davis, the executive director of Pride at Work. The event included speeches from First Lady, Dr. Jill Biden, as well as Queer News Tonight student anchor Javier Gomez. About the event, Davis said, quote, "The president promised a law to ban conversion therapy outright during his campaign. But the Republicans in Congress are blocking everything LGBTQ. So this is at least a start to ending that barbaric practice." And yes, it is a start. Unfortunately, it is a start that can be turned back over time if the wrong people, the bad people, the terrible people get into power.
Nevertheless, we continue to be grateful for all Joe Biden is doing for our community.
Absolutely, and we can't live in fear. We just have to move forward and remain strong and stalwart and resilient and unite together.
You know, I read a book one time that said everything about a president of the United States is what is said 20 years later. 20 years from now, President Joe Biden will be reflected by worldview as the most progressive and embracing LGBTQ president in the history of America and perhaps the entire history of the world.
The event at the White House looked incredible. And one of my next interviews for the FayWhat show, the beautiful Miss Mayra Hidalgo Salazar, was also there. She is the executive deputy director over at the LGBTQ plus National Task Force. And she says that the event was just wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I love it. So next up on LGBTQ plus Flash News. RuPaul drags the homophobes, banning kids from drag shows. Republican Texas Representative Brian Slayton has filed a bill that aims to ban drag shows in the presence of minors in Texas. Last week, Mama Ru appeared on The Late Late Show and brought up the bill with host James Corden, saying, quote, "It's a diversion tactic to take the narrative away from the gun debate into something else, to scare people into thinking about something else." And they've been successful. They've changed the narrative away from the gun debate into this drag queen thing. Y'all want to help your kids? Take away them guns. That will help your kids. Drag queens ain't hurt nobody. You're born naked and the rest is drag. Everybody's in drag. Child, please, end quote. You know, I had to read that twice because that verbiage sounded like it was Al Ferguson saying that, right? Like what?
Gays, gods, and guns. They've been hitting Americans over the head with it and clinging to them for decades. They're not going to change. America needs to change.
Congratulations, Texas, for earning the trophy for being the most hateful place in tonight's broadcast. Thanks for making Florida look a little better.
Oh, dear.
I'm with Ru. Ru, you better work because that's spot on. Your analysis is spot on. That's what it is. It's a diversion. It's smoke screens and diverting the real issue.
You know, when this Texas senator said that the legislation was going to be introduced, I went to the book and I went to the encyclopedia and opened up gaslighting.
There it was.
Gaslighting. And then there was this subsection about this town in Texas called Uvalde and 21 dead people. And the picture next to it was a drag queen and a student. That's gaslighting. We don't want you to talk about the 21 people dead,
right,
which is what RuPaul just said. We want to concentrate on a drag queen. That's Texas. In LGBTQ plus flash news, Elon Musk trans daughter doesn't want to be related to him. The TMZ has reported this evening in breaking news that Elon Musk's child has declared her gender as female. She was assigned male at birth and has also filed paperwork for a name change. Her chosen name is Vivian Jenna Wilson, an intentional separation, from the Musk name. Vivian has stated the reason for her name change as, quote, gender identity and the fact that I no longer live with or wish to be related to my biological father in any way, shape, or form, end quote. Vivian is changing her last name to that of her mother, Justine Wilson. Elon has previously tweeted disdain for people's pronouns as well as, quote, supporting the current thing, end quote. It's interesting to me that in this, you notice we do not dead name her, Vivian, in terms of her name. Elon Musk does. And unfortunately, even in this breaking news, TMZ does. Queer News Tonight will not. And we welcome you to the LGBTQ plus community.
Go Vivian, woohoo! But don't say bye-bye to your daddy's money, okay? Because it's very expensive to be a girl.
Make sure the stock options transfer over to your correct name because you're going to want a seat at that board here coming up soon.
Belated Happy Father's Day, Poppy.
Keep going strong, and I support you, and I think it's great that you had the courage to stand up to the tyranny of your very powerful and wealthy father.
So that's today's news for the LGBTQ plus community on the world's first and only daily LGBTQ plus evening news show. Is our community important to you?
Then help us by liking and subscribing. Ring the bell for updates. Share the news with your friends and family.
Post this broadcast in the many groups you are a member of. Tonight's stories about our community deserve the attention of your family and friends.
Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ plus digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines. We need your support.
And if our community is to grow, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world. This is the only place in the world that tells these type of LGBTQ plus stories in motion and sound. And that is the passion of the Happening Out Television Network, and Queer News Tonight. I'm your anchor, Al Ferguson, and on behalf of these LGBTQ plus reporters, the anchors of Queer News Tonight, including FayWhat, John Hayden, Chris Vila, first time here. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you.
And we want you to come back for
I'd
sure.
love to. Thank you.
And then Gregg Shapiro. And you notice I didn't say that. I'm only playing with you. And Gregg Shapiro. We will see you daily at 8 p.m. Good night.
Good night, everyone.
LGBTQ plus news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Lara are loud. We need passionate allies. Happening Out television network, Queer News Tonight, and It's Happening Out are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. Our community needs your support. Like this broadcast and subscribe now to ensure the growth of the entire LGBTQ